From an Iranian immigrant to building a $500 million empire, Patrick Bet-David claimed to empower others, while 75% of his agents made less than $14 a day. Today, we expose how America's most trusted business mentor built his fortune on broken dreams. Patrick's story begins like many immigrant tales, with struggle and aspirations. Born in Iran, his family fled during the chaotic aftermath of Ayatollah Khomeini's death in 1989, when Patrick was just 10 years old. They feared for his future as he approached the age of 12, when he would have been required to serve in the Iranian military. The family escaped to Germany, where they lived in a refugee camp for a year and a half before finally receiving their green cards and moving to America in November 1990. Young Patrick arrived in Glendale, California, where his family struggled financially. His father worked at a 99-cent store in Englewood, and the family relied on welfare.
So we had lunch tickets when I'd go to school, go pick up the welfare stuff, and then I'd have to use the welfare card or whatever it was. But yeah, no, we were not. I've never lived in a house with a swimming pool. I've never lived in a house, period.
In high school, Patrick was present but not engaged, earning a 1.8 GPA despite perfect attendance. With no direction and little discipline, he joined the US Army in 1997 after his mother returned to Iran and he found himself without a place to live. The Army provided structure, but Patrick was already dreaming bigger. After serving for 2.5 years, Patrick attended college at Santa Monica Community College, dropping out after 2 semesters. The pivotal moment in his career trajectory came through an unlikely source, a girlfriend who worked at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter.
And she picks me up in all these nice cars all the time. I said, what do you do for a living? How do you make this kind of money at 24 years old to have these cars? She says, I work at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter as a broker, financial advisor.
Inspired by the potential for financial success, Patrick landed a job at Morgan Stanley just before 9/11. Despite lacking a college degree, he studied intensively for the Series 7 exam, passing with a 78%, a moment he describes as life-changing.
I hadn't taken a test for 3 years because 4 years I'd gone out. I don't know what it is to take a test for 4 years, right? My brain's not been working with tests. My brain's been working with push-ups, pull-ups, all that stuff. I go take the Series 7 exam. I'm studying day and night. I don't know if I'm going to pass this. I'm taking a test. I press that button. You don't know what's going to happen. Morgan fires you if you don't pass the test. And when I'm pressing it, I said, if I fail, I'm re-enlisting to the Army today. I swear to God. And I press boom.
During his time at Morgan Stanley, Bet-David faced a baptism by fire. He joined right before 9/11, when the company's headquarters in the World Trade Center was directly impacted. With 0 existing clients, he had to get creative. He once sent a single shoe to CEOs, with a note asking for a 15-minute meeting to get the second foot in the door. A hustle move that actually landed him big meetings with LA bigwigs. His Morgan Stanley stint lasted just about a year. He's never pointed to one specific reason for leaving, but has mentioned feeling constrained by the corporate ladder. Despite the decent $65,000 salary, not bad for a 21-year-old in 2001, he wanted more than the slow climb through a traditional firm. From Morgan Stanley, Patrick moved to Transamerica's World Financial Group in 2002, where he spent 7.5 years learning the insurance and financial products industry. What Patrick rarely mentions about this career move is that he wasn't just stepping into another financial company, he was entering a world of business practices that would serve as the blueprint for his own venture. During his time at World Financial Group, he noticed that women were making 75% of household financial decisions, yet the insurance industry was dominated by older white men. According to industry data, the average insurance agent was a 56-year-old white man, and only 17% of agents were women. This insight would become the foundation for PHP Agency, People Helping People, which Patrick launched on September 23, 2009. His strategy was to target demographics overlooked by the traditional insurance industry: women, young people, and minorities. He applied concepts from the book Blue Ocean Strategy, seeking to differentiate PHP from competitors by creating new market space rather than competing in existing crowded markets.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to target women as insurance agents, because at the time, out of 100 agents, only 17% were women. I'm going to bring young girls, and I'm going to target minorities kind of like myself.
What Patrick conveniently leaves out is how PHP really made its money. And it sure wasn't by selling insurance policies to families. Behind all the talk of innovation and helping minorities was the same old pyramid-shaped business model that's been crushing dreams for decades. PHP Agency operated like many MLMs, with a heavy focus on recruitment over product sales. New agents paid initiation fees of $200 plus annual fees of either $99 or $180, regardless of whether they ever sold a single policy. This created a situation where PHP profited from each new recruit, even if they never successfully sold insurance. As a former agent revealed,
there is extra costs associated with getting licensed. Like, it's an extra $500. So if you don't have almost $1,000 to put down whenever you get started, then you're probably not going to make any money.
According to PHP's own 2022 income disclosure, the reality of the financial freedom Patrick promised was stark. 44% of agents made under $1,000 a year. 31% of agents made between $1,000 and $5,000. 75% of agents made less than $5,000 annually, less than $14 a day. These dismal statistics directly contradicted the lifestyle Patrick portrayed when recruiting new agents. While speaking to potential recruits, he painted a very different picture.
It all depends on how big you want to build it. We have a lot of people that get started with us that part-time, they simply get their insurance license to do this part-time. They get trained, somebody goes out there and helps them out. And you can make anywhere between $1,000, $5,000, even some make $10,000, $20,000 a month part-time.
In reality, only about 1% earned between $100,000 and $250,000. The agents that fell into the average income bracket only made up about 2% of the entire agent pool. Despite these numbers, Patrick frequently touted the exceptional success stories. In one recruitment pitch, he boasted,
And I remember when I first met George, when he always had an Infiniti, and he always had these cars. He's driving a 488, got an Audi for himself, got one for his dad. You got Jason driving around in a red Aston Martin, beautiful, gorgeous Aston Martin. Then you hear Vargas buys a yellow Lamborghini, brand new. Ricky just bought a black Lamborghini.
What made PHP particularly effective at recruitment was its targeting of personal networks. The company instructed new agents to write down 25 of their closest friends' names and contact information, so the company could leverage these relationships to recruit more agents. Patrick explicitly directed agents to utilize social media for recruitment.
Send 20 messages on Facebook now. Send 30 messages on Facebook now before you go to sleep. Ask them, what are you doing this Saturday? How are things? A simple message is how you doing. But you got to do it now. And for those of you guys that do that, and you stay like that for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, it's inevitable for you to become financially free. Truly, it's inevitable.
This approach turned personal relationships into business opportunities, causing many agents to lose friends and family members who felt exploited. As one former agent put it,
if you're somebody who's looking to maybe go actually in the recruiting route, then maybe PHP would be right for you, but just know that you're definitely going to lose all your friends.
Once agents exhausted their personal networks for recruitment, PHP's compensation structure ensured they remained trapped in an endless cycle of pursuing new recruits to climb the ranks.
When you first come on board, the levels that we have start at the level trainee. A trainee is somebody that gets started with us, that's at 30%. To become an associate, you need to bring on board 3 business partners, 3 policies, $3,000, get licensed. To become an FA, you need to do 15 policies, 15 recruits, $15,000 of production within 90 days.
The requirements became increasingly demanding as agents moved up the ranks.
To become a director, you need 30 recruits, 30 up, $60,000. You need 6 new licensed agents and 2 direct FAs.
Even higher levels like senior marketing director required 100 recruits and 100 sales in 90 days, quotas that were practically impossible to meet without having recruits purchase policies themselves. This structure put PHP in dangerous territory. According to the Federal Trade Commission, if distributors' earnings come primarily from selling products to distributors they've recruited below them, that may be a pyramid scheme. The identical requirements for sales and recruitment at every level of advancement strongly suggested a system designed to blend the two activities deliberately. The company also employed what Patrick called a generational override system that funneled commissions upward through 7 layers of the organization.
But get 10% first, 5% second, 4, 3, 1, 1, 1. This, if you add it up, gets to 25%.
In practical terms, this meant that when a new agent at the bottom sold a policy, 7 people above them received a cut of the commission, a structure you would never find in legitimate insurance agencies, law firms, or real estate brokerages. This complexity served a purpose. It obscured the reality that the system was designed to funnel money upward while leaving the majority of agents struggling. The starting commission rate for PHP agents was just 30%, significantly lower than the industry standard. For comparison, New York Life reportedly started agents at around 55% commission. The military to MLM pipeline that Patrick followed isn't uncommon. Military veterans accustomed to structure and trained to follow systems often find MLMs appealing. The promise of financial freedom and entrepreneurship without formal education requirements can be particularly attractive to those transitioning to civilian life with limited career opportunities. What no one could have predicted was how Patrick would leverage this controversial business model into something far more valuable than just insurance commissions. In 2022, Patrick sold PHP Agency to Integrity Marketing Group for a reported $300 million while retaining a 25% stake. PHP had grown from 66 agents to 45,000 across 49 states.
How much you sell for? Oh, 300 million, yeah. That 300 million is going to end up being $500 million. The company I sold is much bigger now, and I have 25% left, and it's grown exponentially.
With his newfound wealth and freedom, Patrick shifted his focus entirely to his media brand. The timing was perfect. He had already built a substantial following through Valuetainment, which began in 2012 during a tumultuous period for PHP. Valuetainment's origins coincided with a challenging time for Patrick's insurance business. In 2011 to 2012, PHP was struggling with AIG, one of their main insurance providers.
AIG in 2010, 2011, no one was selling their products.
Amidst these business challenges, AIG representatives were threatening to terminate his contract. In this moment of professional uncertainty, Patrick decided to diversify his influence.
We uploaded the first video, 2 minutes with Pat. I'm wearing this ghetto pink, I don't even know what I saw the other. It's embarrassing when you watch these old clips.
These initial videos were simple, short-form content branded as 2 minutes with Pat. Patrick committed to posting 1 clip per week for 2 years, testing whether there was an audience for his business advice. The early results were modest. After 2 years, the channel had accumulated just a few thousand subscribers. The breakthrough came in 2015 with a video called Life of an Entrepreneur in 90 Seconds. After receiving disappointing views on YouTube, Patrick posted it on Facebook, where it exploded, generating 20 million views. This viral success was followed by another hit called DNA of an Entrepreneur, establishing Patrick's formula for content that resonated with aspiring business owners. Valuetainment's content strategy focused primarily on entrepreneurship education, dispensing practical business advice rather than theoretical concepts. And I'll be honest, I was a Valuetainment diehard, one of Patrick's original subscribers. Back then, entrepreneurship wasn't the buzzword it is today. Social media hadn't been overrun by wannabe gurus. Patrick was the OG of YouTube business content, delivering videos packed with real insight, the must-watch spot for any entrepreneur.
Look, there's 2 ways you can learn about business. One of the ways is go to college, learn a bunch of theories by professors who have probably never ran a business before, or you can watch Valuetainment, ran by entrepreneurs who have built and sold businesses.
What's notable about Patrick's media endeavors is how separate he kept them from PHP. Although his celebrity interviews with figures like Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, and Mark Cuban were often conducted at PHP events, this connection was rarely mentioned in the videos themselves. A viewer would have to be eagle-eyed to spot PHP logos in the background or on attendees' shirts. This separation wasn't accidental. Patrick acknowledged this deliberate division.
Never once on my YouTube channel, if you watch my YouTube channel, you will never once see me say, I run an insurance company, apply here to be an agent with us. Not one video will you ever find. I kept the 2 brands separate.
As Valuetainment grew, Patrick expanded into political commentary with the PBD Podcast, which features a panel format with Patrick as the host, accompanied by regulars Adam, Vinny, and Tom, representing different political perspectives. The show positioned Patrick as an anti-establishment voice critical of what he calls the establishment, the deep state, corporate overlords, career politicians, and wealthy elites.
It's no longer about Democrat and Republican. It's truly becoming more about the establishment folks and the anti-establishment folks.
This evolution from MLL executive to political commentator represented a strategic pivot that allowed Patrick to distance himself from his controversial past while building a new audience. The podcast quickly gained traction, with Patrick conducting headline-grabbing interviews with controversial figures like Andrew Tate just after his release from Romanian custody. Patrick's interview style became a subject of scrutiny. While he claims to love confrontation and asking tough questions,
I like to do research. I like to do good podcasts. I enjoy
confrontation.
I love it.
his approach varied dramatically depending on the guest. With figures whose views aligned with his audiences, Patrick often allowed questionable claims to go unchallenged. Perhaps most telling about the rebrand was Patrick's hiring of former CNN anchor Chris Cuomo for Valuetainment Media. Despite positioning himself as anti-establishment, Patrick welcomed one of the most establishment media figures into his company, demonstrating that his principled stance had its limits when it came to business opportunities. This pattern of inconsistency between Patrick's words and actions wasn't new. It had been the foundation of his business career long before he entered the media space. Few of Patrick's new followers connected him with his MLM past, and when the subject did arise, Patrick typically responded with lengthy, evasive monologues rather than direct answers. In his notable interview with CoffeeZilla, when asked directly if PHP was an MLM, Patrick launched into a digression.
When you think about multi-level marketing, this is how my career got started. I think you need to know how the story of my career got started. Maybe that'll kind of put everything together. I'm in the army, I get out.
This pattern of deflection appeared whenever Patrick faced direct questions about PHP's business model. He would often pivot to discussing other industry shortcomings or reframe the conversation entirely. When asked about the compensation structure, he might respond with,
Do you know the difference between an MLM and an FMO?
introducing irrelevant terminology to muddy the waters. By presenting one face to the public while operating with a different set of principles behind the scenes, Patrick was able to build and eventually sell a company that made him hundreds of millions of dollars while leaving most of its participants financially worse off than when they started. The $300 million sale of PHP to Integrity Marketing Group in 2022 provided both financial validation and an exit strategy. Patrick can now point to the sale as proof of his business acumen while distancing himself from the ongoing operations of the company. His retention of a 25% stake means he continues to profit from the same business practices he avoids discussing publicly. The story of Patrick Bet-David reveals something deeper about the American dream itself. While Patrick often frames his success as proof that anyone can make it in America through hard work and determination, the reality is more complicated. His wealth came not just from his own efforts, but from a system designed to profit from the dreams of thousands who invested their time, money, and relationships into a business model where success was mathematically impossible for most. As Patrick continues to grow his influence and expand his media empire, the PHP chapter of his life recedes further into the background. But for a complete understanding of who Patrick Bet-David is and what his success represents, it remains an essential piece of the puzzle, the foundation upon which everything else was built. Now that you've seen the cracks in Patrick Bet-David's empire, want to know how Andrew Tate and Luke Belmar built theirs on bolder bets and bigger risks? Click on any of these videos and I'll see you there in a second. Cheers.